Well, good afternoon. I'm David Price, the Congressman from the 4th District, and we are going to participate in our own roundtable conversation here with a not entirely randomly chosen group of participants. You'll see a good spread here, and I'll just introduce them quickly and we'll get right into the discussion. But on my left here is Jim Hansen, who's the regional president at PNC. Next to him is Linda Weiner, the Vice President of Engagement and Strategic Innovation at the Community College System of North Carolina. Next to her is Kitty Barnes, a former Board of Education member, I understand, who's now put in a long stint on the Catawba County Board of Commissioners. And next to her, Chancellor James Anderson of Fayetteville State University. So, welcome everyone, and as everyone has their roundtable discussions, let's have ours. And let's focus on the two questions that have been posed. One has to do with equity, and how do we, all up and down the education system, achieve equity, promote equity in ways that are more successful than what we've tried so far. We have plenty to talk about there. And then the question of what kind of preparation is going to be required for students, particularly what we call self-ownership, self-direction, a capacity for entrepreneurship, for innovation, for adapting. How do you foster that in students, the kind of skills that will serve them the rest of their lives? Let's start with the equity issue. Many of you have had plenty of experience in that realm. What would you say has worked most successfully, and what do we need to concentrate on?
Well, David, I don't think we can really talk about equity unless we fundamentally understand the impediments to equity. Those impediments are structural, they're social, they're political, they're economic, etc. But if you're going to build a basic platform and try to promote equity, then you really need to understand the impediments to equity. And until we do that, I don't think we're going to make it. And I think that's why we haven't made a lot of progress, is we haven't fully addressed what those impediments are.
Well, and that implies that equity concerns start at the very beginning, right?
Yes.
It's not just a matter of access to college or community college, but it's a matter of the kind of community environment in which people grow up. Is that your experience?
Absolutely. I don't think we we talk so often about the financial resources that we all have, and throwing money at the problem does not cure it. We need to dig deeper and really have an ongoing conversation about the impediments that have been brought forward. And I think you see that in the community college. Certainly that's the experience at Catawba Valley.
I agree with that. I also think we have to look at the challenges you mentioned, Chancellor, in the students, in the professional development of our faculty, of our administrator, K-12 on, parents, what are their challenges at every level? And I don't think we can just focus on student equity. There's got to be fundamental change from the ground up. I agree, a mindset and a culture change.
You know, Linda, I'd even add K-12 for us is a passion around pre-K as a company, and I think from the business side, we realize that we have to invest early to have our children ready for kindergarten. Through this system, and companies across North Carolina are supportive of education, because in the end, it's a long bet, right? Our long bet is on a workforce that's ready, and a diverse workforce, diverse thought, diverse in more ways than just kind of what you see, but diverse in thought and experience and kind of life lessons along the way.
And just to give you a great example of the economic impediment to this conversation, North Carolina's best teachers are leaving because they're so underpaid. We always rank near the bottom among states for underpaid teachers. And so if our best teachers leave, then we're not going to have that cadre of individuals who really can promote innovation in our students. And so we just can't continue doing that.
Well, there's plenty of evidence about the prime importance of the early childhood environment and the kind of situation that very young children face. And it's not just about money, but it's partly about money. And the figures as to the number of children who have access now to these early childhood experiences and that kind of nurturing, we're doing a fraction of what we should be doing as a country, and that's a responsibility that's shared at all levels of government.
I agree with that.
I would think so.
Word count in particular, that's what we see, right? So it's these a lot of homes that low to moderate income, they're not get access to word count, the vocabulary, to give them the confidence to articulate the question they have when they get to kindergarten. You kind of see if you can get ahead of some of these areas with investment, you make a difference down the road. So
Jim,
great point.
if the state is somewhat losing its support for education at all levels, and if the federal government is too, then will banks and private industry step forward to fill that gap?
I think it's kind of all, right? Like, it takes the village to raise. So I would say that, I think the state has obviously investment in pre-K and Smart Start and other areas, and then there's companies that are stepping into it, and there's communities and partnerships around the state that are stepping into it. But for all of us, it's the ownership to make a difference in tomorrow's North Carolina.
It requires a public-private partnership, and that's certainly something we have tried to bring together in Catawba County, and look to continuing that in all levels of education in our county, not just pre-K.
I think you've got to have strong leadership on the issue. This is not an issue that's going to be solved in one county and in one community or in K-12 or community colleges. It's got to be leadership from the top and a commitment to make this issue a topic of conversation, to make it a commitment that you're going to put resources in over time, so that when the next bright, shiny object comes along, we're not going to be diverting those resources.
Well, the question of the business community and the kind of contribution they might make, we recently at Fayetteville State convened a My Brother's Keeper summit with business and educational and community leaders coming in and talking particularly about young African American males and the kind of support they needed. And a lot of it does come back to mentoring opportunities, to internship opportunities, to, we have the TRIO program that encourages kids to go to college, and that just whatever gives a kid a leg up. And of course that's way beyond pre-K. I mean, you're talking about throughout the educational cycle, the kind of innovative thinking that needs to go on about what kind of contribution any segment can make.
Segue to the second piece, I think to your point, it is around access. So we have to give access, we have to give clarity and transparency. I kind of always say that it's the meeting of the company and the employee in their career, and how we have to make sure that they see the opportunities, and we're providing proficiency and showing them where they can take their proficiencies into other roles and apply them so that they can get that diverse exposure to help build their career.
Since we have limited time, let's just move quickly to that second topic. How do you train self-starters? That's maybe equally challenging.
Part of that is you have to provide incentives. You have to provide incremental incentives, especially when we're talking about sometimes the less skilled, those that need more education, etc. You need to make sure that as we move them through the pipeline, that throughout the pipeline we have clarity. You mentioned clarity. They can see a goal. We're reinforcing a skill set. We're providing a little bit of incentive for them to continue to be motivated, etc. That's hard to do sometimes because you got to have all the players on the same page.
Right.
And you've got to have the parents at the very start working that direction.
You've got to have the commitment to it. And I really think this is a foundational piece, this entrepreneurial mindset. It's not just for those who are going to go into business, it's the employee everyone wants to hire.
Well, lots of activity up there at the stage. Congressman did a great job hosting. It sounds like, for all the futuristic talk we've heard, you get back to the basics of education, good mentoring, parenting, and good teaching. And if we go back to the basics, we can look forward with some confidence. Is that a good summary?
It's pretty clear.